2, 1. What's going on, everyone? You're watching Ash on Comics Live. That was a little bit of technical difficulty. That's why you didn't hear anything after there was the delay. But you should be hearing me now. I had a feeling something was wrong. And hopefully it's all fixed now and I'm not talking to myself. Dragon Majesty says, can't hear you. That's the bad thing. Got the delay. You should be hearing me now because I heard myself. Thanks, man. So we'll just pretend that didn't happen. How is everyone? Melissa, looks like you're first. You're first again. And then Dragon Majesty is first. No, Melissa was first, as she usually is. She's the reigning title holder of being first in the chat. Dragon Majesty, good to see you. Rusty Deo is here early. Normally you show up pretty late, if I recall correctly, but good to see you, my friend. He says, I thought I was in a Blade movie with the techno. Yeah, man. One of my favorite techno songs is from one of the Blade films by Erasure called, I think it's called Contagion. It's the name of it. It's one of my favorite songs. I can't remember the name of it. It's so stupid. Hopefully you guys are doing well tonight. Staying safe from COVID. Staying safe from the riots. Staying safe from space aliens. You know there's space aliens, right? And then the government released the footage. Hopefully you got a nice refreshing beverage. I'm drinking Dr. Pepper tonight. I was going to have a beer, man, but I'm feeling tired. I'm just feeling worn out. I think it's a combination of a lot of things that are going on in the world. Just is, you know, I'm sure you guys can probably relate. It's just taking its toll on me, man. I am fortunate enough, even though I'm here out in California, I'm fortunate enough to be in San Diego, which is not a huge hellhole like the rest. But it's taken an emotional toll on me watching what's happening to my country and just seeing everything that's going on. So I don't mean to be a downer. I know you guys come here for some enjoyment and just to relax and hang out and talk some comics, but I just have to get stuff off my chest. Let's see. Normally finishing up lunch before returning to my desk. I see. When you say lunch, are you meaning you're in a different part of the world, or you just have a weird schedule so you eat lunch at night? Let's see. I've seen the UFO footage. Pretty crazy. Yeah, it's not really alien footage. We don't know what we're seeing. I'm still not convinced that it's really aliens, but it's fun to entertain those ideas. It's a Sunday night. It looks like a little slow, a little less people in the chat than normal. Is there any streams going on that I'm missing that I'm conflicting with? That's drawing attention. Has England team decided to do a stream in the middle? I don't know. But we'll continue on as normal. This isn't really about having huge numbers. I'm not monetized, so it doesn't really matter. I don't get super chats. I don't get any goodies. I just get to hang out with a bunch of comic peeps. And it's fun. Having good times. I'm trying to get my chat to pop out. It's really difficult to do all these things. It's very much a skill to talk and keep airtime going, you know, with no dead air, and also think about what you're doing and manage things behind the scenes and not sit there and go, and I do that sometimes anyway. I'm certainly not a pro, but I have a lot of appreciation for you know, like DJs and people, I guess, that I manage that do that sort of stuff. Rusty says, I'm in Japan. Oh, that's cool. Are you Japanese in Japan, or are you an American expatriate, or are you military, or what's the situation there? I do obviously recognize the kanji in your name now, but these days that could mean anything. It could just mean you're an anime fan. Like, I don't know. Says, Dragon says, no England right now. I just checked. All right. Well, I know what the problem is. There's no Eric Breen. Where the hell is Eric Breen? He's probably wasted because he stays up all night on Saturday doing England's auction, and then he goes to work in the morning on Sunday. And then he's probably all tuckered out and gone to bed. I need to turn my phone down because it keeps beeping. Sorry about that. I'm such a professional. Oh man. Let's see. Rusty says I'm an Aussie in Japan. All right, cool. Same Rusty on Twitter. Okay. I don't know if I follow you on Twitter. Do you follow me? Tweet me out sometime. Tag me on Twitter so I can make sure I'm following you. There's so many people that I follow. Your Twitter feed gets so jumbled up with nonsense that it's hard to remember who you do and who you don't. I miss so much stuff. But I definitely like to follow anyone that follows me, especially for the purposes of like comics and stuff. Because I follow and have people who follow me for many other different reasons. These days, a lot of it, like the political stuff. Because on Twitter, I'm a lot more political heavy than my channel, which is really more about the comics. But I like to follow back the people about comics because I like talking about that. Is anyone? Are you guys reading anything good? Anything new? I guess I ask that probably every couple of days. I'm just curious what's going on out there in your world. I, of course, am disappointed about Hawkman being canceled. Yeah, that's a bummer news. Do you guys read Hawkman? Or am I preaching to the choir? Or are you guys just like, yeah, screw that guy who looks like he's got wings and a mace? Eric says, where am I? Why am I here? Very nice, Eric. You're copying RDV's material. Now you know you're in the gutter. You're at an all-time new low when you're copying RDV's material. But anyways, welcome. Good to see you, Eric. I thought you were all passed out. It says, all good. Yes, I'm following. I tweet in Japanese a bit, so I lose the odd follower every now and then. Avoid Twitter drama. I am a circle, no sides. Okay. Well, I don't mind if you tweet in Japanese. I mean, I won't be able to read it, but I don't really have problems. I don't understand, like, some people. There's a lot of people actually have real problems with who they follow and what they say and stuff like that. And my thing is, like, you can ignore it. It's just a feed. My biggest issue isn't what people say on Twitter. It's what I miss, because if you're following like hundreds of people, then your main feed is just scrolling, just nonstop chatter. And I talk to people all the time, like, say maybe Eric Breen is an example, who'll be like, oh, did you see that tweet that I did? And I'm like, no, because I'm not on Twitter 24/7. So, if 24 hours go by, on Twitter, God forbid, I probably missed hundreds and hundreds of tweets, like, I just don't follow that long. So especially if you don't tag me, if you tag me, I'm way more likely to see it, because then it'll be in my mentions. But on the main home feed, but I don't care. Like, my whole thought is, if it's important that I see it, someone's going to tag me. And so, yeah, I don't actually, I don't block anyone. I never understood the whole thing about people like, I don't want to follow this person and block them. And it's like you can't handle text on a screen that you don't have to look at. I don't know. Let's see. Dragon says, I'm bummed about Hawkman ending too. Yes, I'm a big Hawkman fan. Got every issue. I knew there was a reason I liked you, Dragon Majesty. You can tell who the good comic fans are. I'm just kidding. To anyone who's not a Hawkman fan, I'm just kidding. But Eric says, well, actually, it was Ross Perot's running mate, Admiral Stockdale, that I stole that from. Oh, okay. Well, I guess just steal material from the 80s. Oh, wait, good job. No one knows who Admiral Stockdale was, Eric. Not even me, and I voted for Pro. Rusty Dale says, agree. I don't have time for Twitter games. Most of the pros have blocked me, though. Most of the pros haven't blocked me, though. A few have. I guess I got hit by some block bot. But I focus on indies, so no worries to me. Well, a lot of the big pros are in the indies game, and it's just getting more because all the layoffs. A lot of comic pros are finding themselves out of work, and we haven't even seen what's going to happen with Marvel yet. DC is a volcano that I'm not sure is done erupting. Pardon me while I drink live on air, and I'm so professional. We're going to see DC Comics probably shrink their line about 50% is my guess. So I think they're going to go down from 60 to 70 issues a month to about 30, 35 issues a month. Still quite a bit, actually. During the 80s, the heyday, the golden era that I always, praise. I think Marvel probably had less than 30 issues that they produced every month. I think it's actually better for the industry to have less content that's better. I think right now one of the biggest problems that the comic industry is having is just way too much content. It's just spreading the talent so thin. And we just, and then there are some good things out there, like Hawkman, for example, and they just get lost in the shuffle. There's like 500, well, I don't know about right now, but before pre-COVID, there were about 500 comics that came out every month. 500. The comic book store that I go to in San Diego is a pretty big one. And they have a giant wall. I've shown pictures of it on my Discord. They have a giant wall, and it's probably, I don't know, 100 feet long or more, of just like the new comics, and they don't get all the comics. it's gigantic. I'm like, man, back in the early 90s when comics were selling like millions of copies, right? When Image was forming, when the comic industry, when the direct market was at the biggest it's ever been. I was working in a comic book store, and the comic book store was, maybe twice the size of my living room. It wasn't like very big at all. And the new comic rack was like, I don't know, like 30 feet wide, maybe. Like, I don't know. There's probably we just had a couple of dozen books that would come out. It's just a way different time. Of course, they'd be stacks, right? Because, the books would be like, Spawn. It's like, just stacks and stacks of it. Nowadays, it's like you go to the comic book store and it's like, they ordered 3 of this and they ordered 5 of that. And it's just like just a massively long wall of books. 100 feet might actually be too short. It might be 200. It's really long. I can't post pictures in here. Well, I guess I can. What am I doing? I'm doing live. I don't have them available right now, but whatever. Let's see. Eric says he's dead. He doesn't care. That was his opening line at the first vice presidential debate. You actually watch vice presidential debates? Jesus. This year might be the first time ever I would consider watching a vice presidential debate. To see Kamala and Pence debate. However, I don't think there's going to be a debate. So that's the way that goes. I was actually kind of thinking that maybe there will be a debate, except Joe won't show up and Kamala will just debate Pence and Trump. It's like during the presidential debate, it'll be Kamala versus Trump, and then the vice presidential Kamala versus Pence. And I would, oh man, that would almost be as good as watching Trump debate Biden. I want to see that so bad. I want to see it so bad. But having Trump dump on Kamala and just be like, "Where's your boy? Why can't he show up? He has to send you." Oh, it's such a joke. Look, man, I don't mean to insult anyone in the audience. You can have your own political beliefs. You know, it's not to say that, you know, obviously I'm an unabashed conservative, but I'm not 100% pro-Republican. I think the Republicans are a pretty corrupt party. And that's what I urge liberals to recognize. Like, look, you can have your liberal beliefs and so forth, but have integrity with them. Like, right? Like, have your liberal beliefs, but then recognize that Kamala Harris is a slave owner, or not an owner, slave lord. She was advocating keeping nonviolent offenders in jail for extra time in order to have slave labor. Like, you can be a liberal and say, look, I support liberal ideas, but that's wrong. You can be a liberal and recognize that Biden is not there. And anyways, I'm not trying to turn the stream political, but that's all I'm saying. Just, I think that's where we get in this country so much animosity and conflict with each other, because we start taking sides and it becomes like partisan instead of based on ideas. Like I said, I'm conservative, but I generally all my life, well, not all my life, all of my adult wake up, like I had an awakening during the Bush era. And at that point, I became very like libertarian mindset. I was very anti both parties. I was like, the Republicans and the Democrats, they're both just these corrupt establishment parties. They answer to the big banks, you know, like they're owned by special interest groups. And I was like, it shouldn't ever be about people. It should be about ideas. And I had some people that were influential in my life that talked about, you know, what their different ideas of what government should be and things like that. And it helped form my principal ideas, which is that the government should be very limited in its purpose. It only really has three primary roles. One is to protect its borders, right? That's the national security. It needs to police its interior, right? So it needs to be able to protect your rights. If I come into your house and I want to steal your stuff, then the government needs to be able to protect your right that I can't do that. Like, stop me. That's number two. And then number three is to provide for the overall nation things that we individually can't provide for ourselves, you know, like police, for example, fire departments, roads, infrastructure that, you know, you can't do individual. It's stupid to do individually, even if you were rich. Like, and that's why we have a government. We can, and I'm all about, we can tax and collect a little bit of money between everyone, and then and make sure that we have those things. But everything else, government has no business being in, and that's my opinion. You know, you don't have to share that opinion, but it's about an idea. Then I say, okay, that's my idea. Now I look which party has that idea, right? Like, I don't jump and be like, I like that party, so okay, now tell me what you believe so that I can adopt it. I think that's the backwards way to go. And so, anyways, I'm done. I'm not going to talk about that. Hopefully no one got offended or insulted. But let's see. Doug Johnson's in the house. He says that line may be recycled as Biden's opening line for the presidential debates. I think Kamal's VP pick will debate Pence. Kamal's VP pick. Nice. I see what you did there. Ed Brewer's in the house. What's going on, Ed? I'm late, but I don't think I missed anything. Wait a second. Was that a dig? Was that a dig, Ed? Duck Johnson says, thanks for not mispronouncing it as Kamala. Nice. You guys are on fire, man. Ed says, man, was I wrong? The Democrats are your friend, Ash. Let them take care of you. Yeah, they'll take care of me as I get old, and then they decide who gets to live and who gets to die. I can't wait for state-run healthcare to pull the plug on me, because I'm not worth paying for. And if you don't think that's going to happen, you haven't paid attention to any state-run healthcare. That's exactly how the Holocaust started too, by the way, was this is program in Germany called T4. And the first thing that they did was like, hey, we're going to provide healthcare for the country. The number two thing they did was like, oop, we can't afford to pay for healthcare for everybody, so the old people got to die. And then the next thing they did is say, oh, well, now that the old people are dead, let's take all the mentally ill and people born with disabilities and deformities. Those, they got to go now. And then after that, it was races. It's just a slippery slope. It starts off sounding like a good idea. Just don't put government in charge. If you think that I'm wrong, if you have an idea, if you're like, Ash is out of his mind, just like, look, if you're happy with what the government right now is doing, if you're like, absolutely everything the government does, look, the post office is perfect. We should put them in charge of all our healthcare. Look at our military. Look how great our military is. Like, look at the spending. I mean, we're tens of trillions of dollars. Like, look at, if you're happy with everything in government, then okay, maybe I can say, well, okay, I guess maybe we should do more. But I look at a country and I see everyone, no matter which side you're on, screaming at government. You're either screaming at the Trump administration and Republicans, or I see the Trumpers screaming at the Democrats. Everyone thinks government's broken, but yet everyone wants government to do more and fix things. And it's like, dude, that the government, to quote Ronald Reagan, government, what is it? I can't quote him now because I forgot exactly what he said. Government can't fix the problem. Government is the problem. I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like that. Let's see. Old folks are willing to make way for the new generation, though. Oh, all right. Is that true, Eric? Are you willing to make way for the new generation? Are you gonna give your spot up for old Jimmy? Speaking of old Jimmy, let's get into some comics. I know that's why you come here, not to listen to me blab about nonsense. Although if you guys keep talking in chat, I'm just gonna follow where the chat goes. So, I don't really have. I'm not a person who really gets offended or insulted very easy, or I don't shy away from topics. My only concern is other people's feelings. I don't want someone else to have to feel bad because I'm talking about something that bothers them. Let's see if Comixology has any sales. No. DC #1 sales, no. Valiant just can't give away their shit these days. It's so sad. This sale has been going on for months. Oh, look, it's the Marvel X-23 sale. Oh, you can get all these great, all new, all better Wolverines. It's all better when it's a woman Wolverine. Oh, look, and then, speaking of better when it's a woman, here's the Jane Foster Thor sale. Oh, this is great. Whoops, I don't have the screen on. Let's do that for you again so you guys can follow along. Let's see, Transformers, who cares? Marvel Apocalypse sale. Are you trying to tell us something, Marvel? Marvel's like having an apocalypse. Like, let's have a sale. We'll call it the Marvel Apocalypse sale. Oh my goodness. Look at how they just give away these books. That's one thing about Marvel, man. When their stuff goes on sale, it goes on sale dirt cheap. I mean, you look at this and say like, oh, like it's a $254. That's for a trade paperback. That's not for a single issue. And still, I have no desire to. I would like not even for $2.50, not even for free. I don't want those books for free. Bunch of indie stuff. I shouldn't say indie in a negative light. I'm really starting to find myself much more of an indie comics person. Ed says, share the screen. You forgot to say dumbass or loser or something like that afterwards, Ed. I appreciate you being nice, though. How about righteous large gathering in protest? Oh, to protest in... Yeah, so Eric's like, there's been all these protests today to protest having to vote in person. So thousands of people all across the country got together to go out in public and travel and then gather in large groups in the streets to protest that they have to go to a voting booth, you know, like we've done since the beginning of voting. Like, that they have to go and because it's not safe. Let this sink in. We don't want to have to go somewhere where it might be unsafe to be around other people, so we're going to go gather in large groups. And you go to the voting poll, you're there for like 30 minutes and then you're gone. And you can lather up on all the different disinfectants and sanitizers and whatever you want. Put your masks on. Come in an environment suit if you want. You know, like, I would love to see that, by the way, if someone showed up in like one of those like hazmat suits. That'd be so rad. Can you imagine? But yeah, let's see. Is Jane Foster Thor a one-time girl power sale? What? What are you talking about? Jane Foster Thor a one-time girl power sale? I don't know what you're saying there. Ed says, how bad must it be to pass up $2.50? It must be pretty bad. Let's go back. Let's see. Yeah, so we got Wolverine. So all new Wolverine, $3.39 for the volume 1. Look at these. How cheap they are. 102 items. You have your pick, by the way, with all new Wolverine. You can get Tom Taylor or Mariko Tamaki. That's some stellar talent. It's no wonder that this was the bestest Wolverine ever. Oh, look, there's some unlimited. I could do some unlimited. Look, all new Wolverine. Oh, look, stepping on the neck of Captain America. I can't breathe, says Captain America. That's problematic cover right there. It's very problematic. Let's go. I'm kind of glad I looked at this, so I might want to. I think I might want to read some all new Wolverine on the channel sometime. And then we got right here. Look at this. Mighty Thor, $2.54 for the volume 1. Someone on Twitter said, someone made a comment that said like that the MCU needs to recast Jane Foster because Natalie Portman isn't a good fit, like doesn't fit the casting. And I was like, have you seen Jane Foster? Like, look at this cover right here. She's a skinny, like, totally petite, emaciated woman that thinks she's better than everyone in the universe. Natalie Portman was born for this role. what the hell? Like, how? I mean, let's face it. Brie Larson was already taken it's so. I don't understand that. Does anyone say why they would think Natalie Portman shouldn't be cast? I mean, look at this. This is Natalie Portman right here. Look, we're gonna get these great scenes of Natalie Portman being way better. The most worthiest Thor. That's what they should have subtitled. It should have been it should have been the worthiest Thor. Let's see. Eric says the issue of She-Thor where Kane was fighting Tatiana and she stopped in the fight in the name of girl power. That was the last straw that proved Aaron sucked. That was some of the cringiest stuff I've ever read. Where she was like, where seriously she stopped. What was it that Tatiana just allowed her to kick her husband's ass because of girl power or something? I was like, this is the most retarded crap I've ever read in a comic. And then people tell me, they're like, oh, this is Jason Aaron's Jane Foster Thor run was great. And I'm like, have you fucking read it? It's garbage. Like seriously, like high school fan fiction is written better than some of these books. Let's see. Ed says, or Emma Watson. I don't think Emma Watson thinks she's better than everyone though, right? You know, she's kind of got that British attitude, and she's gotten into the whole thing where it's, you know, these Hollywood starlets, they all become super Karens, right? Like she speaks in front of the UN and she's going to save the world. Yes, she's insufferable, but not in the same way. But you know, if Natalie Portman didn't want to do the role, I think Emma Watson could maybe pull it off too. Not every character can be cast as perfectly as Brie Larson as Captain Marvelous. Melissa Harris says Logan is Wolverine. These days, Logan is he's a bit of a swinger. You know, Logan likes let's just say he's a Green Bay fan. Put it that way. Eric Breen says Jason Aaron wears panties. Oh my goodness. Not even for $2.50. But it's on unlimited. So maybe I'll read this sometime. Speaking of reading, let's get into a comic. To give you guys something to talk about. Scroll up to my books. Switch to the big screen. See if I say it out loud, then I don't forget to do it. Today's first book is probably one of the most iconic comic covers ever done, maybe next to Action Comics #1. This cover has been copied so many times, including the recent Spawn 300. But there's a reason. The cover, it's an iconic cover, and it was an iconic storyline. And this was a great time to be a Marvel fan. It was just back when comics were about fun heroes saving the day. And I really miss the black costume. This is a cool story. Excuse my sniffling. Apologize. Let's get into a little bit of comic reading. First, I need a drink. And here we go. Venom. Her name is Mary Jane Watson Parker, but she doesn't know that. At this moment, she knows almost nothing, for her mind has been harshly numbed, all thought cruelly drowned in an onrushing tide of primal fear, an emotion that may never fully fade. Don't come near me. Please, don't touch me. Stan Lee proudly presents a comic book milestone, the fabulous 300th issue of The Amazing Spider-Man. This is something we'll probably never see in Marvel Comics again, a 300th issue. By David Michelinie and Todd McFarlane. Mary Jane, what's wrong? Stay away, please. No more. Hey, hon, it's okay. It's me. Me? Peter. Peter? Oh, God, Peter. He was in the apartment waiting for me, and he looked just like you. Huh? Like Spider-Man. He wore a costume, but he was big, bulky, like a weightlifter. He wanted to know where my boyfriend was. He didn't even know we were married. Never mind that. Are you okay? Did he hurt you? Not physically. He made me feel so helpless. But what if he is looking for you? He grew a mouth, Peter. Right on his mask, he grew it. He wasn't human. Let's worry about that later. Right now, I'm getting you to a doctor, and no, I mean, I'm okay, really. It's just, I can't stay here tonight, Peter. Not after. I understand. I'll throw some things in an overnight bag and we'll go to a hotel. You just take it easy. Mary Jane's one of the strongest women I know, but she's trembling like a little girl. What kind of monster could do that to her? Answer. The kind that currently crawls up the sheer wall of a South Bronx tenement. The kind that has just come home. Yeah, I know. The woman wasn't our target, but shaking her up could still work. I mean, if we don't find him, he might find us either way. It's just a matter of time. Guess I'll pump a little iron, pop a sweat. You may not get your power from muscle, buddy, but I sure do. And I want to make certain I'm in shape, you know? For the kill. Midnight. The Leiden House Hotel in mid-Manhattan. Can't sleep. Too tense. Think I know who that intruder could have been. Trouble is, that's impossible. Don't know who the man who broke in was, but from NJ's description, the inhuman thing she saw sounds an awful lot like my old costume. I first got my black and white suit on another planet during that Beyonder thing. I brought it to Earth because it was great having a costume that could mimic my civilian clothes and change from one to the other on a mental command. For more info, see Secret Wars number 9. If you can afford it. Comics are collectible, even though people try to tell you they're not. Sorry, moving on. The problem started when Mr. Fantastic discovered what my costume really was. A living, thinking, symbiotic being. An alien who wanted me for its host, who even tried to bond itself to my body. It finally took Mr. Fantastic Sonic's blaster to capture the creature. But it escaped, determined to join with me permanently. I got desperate. So desperate that I lured it to a church tower and let the shattering clamor of the bells kill the monster before it could destroy me. See Web of Spider-Man number 1. Continuity. Look at that. Twice so far. This book has referenced other books where things mattered because comics used to matter, kids. But from what Mary Jane says, the reports of that death may have been somewhat premature. Nuts. I'm really strung tight. In the past, I'd loosen up with a little web swinging, maybe take some photos for the Daily Bugle. But I'm a married man now, and I have to stay with Mary Jane until... Come to bed. Peter? I think I know who terrorized you, MJ, and why they're after Spider-Man. I hoped my having a secret identity would shield you, but... Hush, Tiger. When I signed on for better or for worse, I meant it. Now let's get some sleep, okay? Man. Remember when women meant it? Fuck one more day. Stubbornly, grudgingly, fitful sleep finally comes. And eventually, as the sun slips into an assigned position over Manhattan once more. Mary Jane? Over here, Peter. I hope you weren't calling room service. I already know what I want for breakfast. Silly. I was calling a real estate agent that I know. I pulled in some markers. And we've been moved to the top of the waiting list for the Bedford Towers. If we want that condo, it's ours. But it usually takes months to get a good place in Manhattan. I guess we were just lucky. I know this is sudden, Peter, but I just can't live in that apartment anymore. I'd scream at every little creak or rattle. You do understand, don't you? Well, I guess. I knew you would, Peter. Oh, I love you so much. They said we could look at the condo this afternoon, and I'd really like to get some pre-move pictures, before and after. Okay, I'll pick up my SLR at the apartment after the shower. That's single lens reflex camera. oh, the 90s when technology was such a new thing. Great. I'll see what I can do about reserving a van and recruiting some help. Looks like this is working out. My trip to the apartment will make a perfect cover for the other errand I have to run. Good old Chelsea Street. If I had a nickel for every time I dropped through this skylight, maybe I could afford to pay for my share of the condo. Speaking of which, I wonder if there'll be a problem getting in and out of Spider-Man. Guess I'll swing across that bridge when I come to it. Now, I've got other things to worry about, and to take precautions against. I borrowed this sonic blaster from the Fantastic Four on my way over. I just hope I don't have to use... Huh? Light blinking on MJ's answering machine. Better see what it is. Hi, kids. This is Aunt May. Just calling to remind you about dinner tonight. Chicken and dumplings at 7 p.m. Wait, 7 p.m. short? I mean sharp. Oh, phooey. I hate these contraptions. Click. Heh. Aunt May will get such a kick when she hears about the fancy West Side condo I'm moving into. Quite a step up from this place. Of course, when you come right down to it, I'm going to miss living here. Sure, it's a dump, but for the last few years, it's been my dump. Oh well. Soon. Don't know how many pics MJ wants. I've got 36 exposures of 200 DX in my camera. That's film for you youngsters that don't remember how cameras used to work. Sorry. I hope that's... Huh? I couldn't be in danger, or my spider sense would warn me, but somehow I almost feel like I'm being followed. He's ducking into an alleyway. Excuse me. I had to clear my throat. He's ducking into an alleyway. Must be a shortcut. Blast. No crowd to hide in. We'd better give him a few seconds to get ahead then. What? He's gone. Living in New York for so long may have made me paranoid, but I can't help believing that old saying, better safe than splattered. And thus, a short while later, at the exclusive Bedford Towers condominium residence. Wow. I don't believe I'm really going to live here. I mean, it was such a big deal when I got my own place. Now I feel like I'm getting my own palace. Hey, Tiger, a top fashion model like yours truly has an image to maintain. Besides, with this kind of space, we'll almost have room for all my clothes. Yeah, I know. It's just going to take some getting used to, and I still wish, well, that I could help pay for it. Peter's feeling really down about me making so much more money than he does. But maybe I can help. Listen, Peter, have you ever thought about fashion photography? Come on, MJ. I don't have the right training for that. Oh, pooh. You'll never know until you try, and with a subject like me, how can you go wrong? At least give it a shot. What have you got to lose? Well, okay. Talk to the camera, baby. Yeah, that's it. That's hot. Now, make me want you. Get it on, all right? Think Cosmo. Think, should we have a wind machine or something? Oh, heck. I'm not cut out for this. I just feel silly. It's hopeless. Uh-oh. Peter's getting even more depressed. Gotta do something to perk him up. Look at this panel. This is great. Oh, man. I think I need to screenshot this one. In that case, man oh mine, how about taking some snaps for our private collection? Slowly, Peter's spirits begin to rise. I don't think that's the only thing that's beginning to rise. And that evening at the Queen's Country Boarding House owned and run by May Parker. My, you youngsters certainly look healthy. Marriage must agree with you. Apparently it does, May. That nephew of yours has been ignoring you even more than before he got hitched. Now you hush, Nathan Lubinsky. The children have lives of their own to lead. I hope you'll forgive my little tirade. I'd better go put these dishes into soak. I'll help. Oh, no, dear. You stay with Peter where you belong. Back in a sec, hun. Uh-huh. Yeah. Wait, who's talking here? There's so many people. Yeah, that was your lucky Lindy himself came into the shop, I remember. May, I've been meaning to ask you. This is the first time you've had us over since we got married, and you haven't visited us at all. It's almost like, well, you're distancing yourself from us. I don't mean to do that, Mary Jane. I just want your marriage to work. And so many couples get split apart by nosy relatives who try to run their lives for them. But you're not nosy, May. You just care about us. Why, Peter would be crushed if you dropped out of our lives. And May, so would I. Oh, well, I guess in that case. Peter, if I'm not the first guest you ask to your new home, I'll have the Grey Panthers picket the place so fast it'll make your head spin. Aunt May, I'll have the invitation engraved tomorrow. But tomorrow is a day away, while tonight, at Our Lady of Saints Church in Lower Manhattan, It all began here. It's only fitting that it should end here. Don't you agree? Yes, I thought you would. Freeze! Looks like putting extra foot patrols in the beat worked. The Sarge is gonna flip when I bring in the scum who's been pilfering poor boxes in the area. Don't be a fool, boy. Petty cash is no concern of mine. Yeah? That's not what the broken lock on the front door says. You'd better come with me, Buster. It seems you leave us no choice. Though you probably won't believe that we find this particular choice rather repulsive. What? I can't breathe. Suffocate. Innocent death is always unpleasant, but nothing must stand in our way. Nothing must block our righteous revenge. And by all that's sacred, nothing will. A day passes. The young policeman's body is not found. And as evening settles once more over the imposing edifice of the Bedford Towers. Sorry this move is so late, folks. On such short notice, I couldn't get a van any earlier. No problem, MJ. Whoa, that red-headed guy's hairdo is radical. Darn, I'm missing the Nets game, and that makes me mad. Who are these people? I ran out of your friends, Peter, so I called in some of mine. Do hurry with those boxes, Jeeves. Watching you carry them in is positively exhausting. Very good, sir. Wow, there are Pete's old neighbors, Candy, Randy, and Bambi. Man, if I had them living next door, I'd never move. Hey, watch it. Easy, boys, don't hurt yourselves. Ba-dum-bum. That's a good pause for a sec. Let's see what's going on in the chat. You guys have been busy. Let's see. Chris Sparks says, obviously I'm doing a Marvel Legends fanfic with figures. That sounds kind of fun, actually. I mean, I don't actually have a problem with fanfic. I just have a problem with fanfic being published as a Marvel comic and charging you $3.99 or whatever ridiculous price they do. But fanfic itself is cool. Let's see. Peter, he wore a mask, but he didn't social distance. Get the bad man. Chris Barr says, Breen, I love that in the new comics. Peter at one point had a company that rivaled Stark. I'm using that in my fanfic. Let's see. Ed says, every comic I read as a kid had editor notes. Yeah, that was like a super common thing. And I think it really helped you as a fan if you were like new into comics. Like, let's say you were new into comics and you just like, oh, Spider-Man's neat, and you just picked up this comic. You'd be reading through the story and it would reference something that happened. It would be like, check out this, like it happened in this issue. And you're like, oh, and it would inspire you to go out and get that issue and check it out. And by having this continuity, if it was like in other comics, you know, like if something happened like in an Iron Man comic per se, then you might go pick up those issues. And it did it in a really subtle way. Like it wasn't pushing you. It just was basically always telling you like, hey, there was other stories that were happening over here, just so you know. And you never felt pressured to buy them. But if you were enjoying what you were reading, and then once you got into that, I think Eric will really back me up on this. Like it would just make you just want to dive into the whole universe and get all the books. Whereas today, like nothing matters. So you don't care. You're just like, oh, okay. I'm reading this Spider-Man book. You know, like what's happening with Empire right now, right? Like Thor's running around with the Avengers doing stuff, but he's not. He's actually really off in space trying to fight the Black Winter. but it's like these two comics don't even recognize that each other exists. Nothing really matters. There's no reason. Everything is self-contained. And these publishers, they just don't seem to understand why sales are dragging. I mean, there's a number of issues. I don't want to say issues, like a number of problems that are happening in the industry that are causing fans to lose faith or interest. And some things matter more to certain people than other people. But when you put all these things together, I just wish, they would recognize, like, that's the beauty of mainstream comics, whether you're Marvel or DC, is having this big world that feels real. Like, things that happen in it matter. They resonate through the rest of the world. They don't always have to have these crossovers all the time. Just make the stuff that happens feel like that it matters. It resonates and stays in, I don't know what. Anyways, you guys know what I'm talking about. Peter's organic webs in his pants. I don't know, Melissa. That seems pretty lewd. Melissa says, I miss Peter. I miss Spider-Man being a photographer. I hate what One More Day and Dan Slott did to him. Yeah, I kind of agree. I think Spider-Man being a photographer, I think working at the Daily Bugle, I think the whole thing, the whole struggling to get by, all of these added aspects to his character that were, I think, fundamental to who Peter was. It's kind of like Bruce Wayne being a rich billionaire. You can take that away if you wanted. You could write a story and say, he's now poor. But it's no longer the fundamental core. Like, that's not what makes Batman what Batman is. Same thing with, like, Tony Stark, right? You could do Iron Man. What makes the Iron Man character part of his core traits is that he's a super rich industrialist billionaire that he builds weapons. Now, you take that away, you can do stories, but that's what he is. Like, that's why people buy Iron Man books, if they like that. Marvel chicks then versus now, says Ed. Eric responds, it's too depressing to think about. Eric says, too much heterosexuality for me. Gotta go to bed and hide under the covers. Good night, kids. And yes, I agree with Ash. All right, good night, Eric. Thanks for swinging by. The Boogeyman symbiote comes for Breen at night. Sweet dreams, Eric. Now, back to the comic. And eventually... Whew. That's the last one. Shoot, I was just getting pumped up. Maybe they'll let you carry the van back to the rental agency, Flash. Come and get it. Sandy and I'll build some more sandwiches while you guys work on these. Sodas are in the fridge. Dig in. Wow, is this comic problematic? Are you telling me the women made the men sandwiches? This is some of the most sexist. Holy shit. Just kidding. This is like normal. Like, women do nice things for men sometimes, and no one cares unless you're insane. Moving on. Give any more thoughts to my suggestion, Pete, about getting out of the news photography? You're the Bugle's editor-in-chief, Robbie. How could I not take you seriously? In fact, I've been thinking about how science used to be my driving ambition. Maybe? Excuse me, Robbie. There's something I have to do. Need any help? No. I think I'd better handle this alone. 3 minutes later, over the South Bronx. That creep must have just checked Chelsea Street and found out I wasn't there anymore. Now he's looking for me. And I couldn't take a chance on him finding me with all my friends around. I just hope he hasn't gotten so far ahead that... Bingo! Crawling into that abandoned building. I'll just follow, scope out the situation, then take him by surprise. After all, my spider sense will warn me if there's any danger. Wham! Welcome to my neighborhood, Spider-Man. Would you be my Could you be my neighbor? This guy's nuts. But that costume, giving me the shivers. Got to be the alien. Have to stall, reach the blaster. Who are you? You may call me Venom, for that's what I'm paid to spew out these days. I'm your victim, Spider-Man. I'm the innocent you ruined. But I still don't know who. Perhaps this will help. Mask flowing from his face. Looks familiar, like Eddie Brock? Ah, you've seen my picture in the Daily Globe. Indeed, I used to be Eddie Brock before you stole my career, erased my future, obliterated everything I lived for. My column in the Daily Globe was read by millions. I was a solid reporter, a respected member of the Fourth Estate. At least I was when I began writing a series of articles on the Sin Eater murders a few months back. It was partly because of all those articles that I was contacted by a Mr. Emil Gregg, a man who had confessed to being Sin Eater. Protecting Mr. Gregg's identity through my rights under the First Amendment, I told his story, incisively, compassionately. The Globe's circulation soared, but pressure also mounted. The police insisted that I reveal my source so that they could stop the murder spree. Under advice of counsel, I finally wrote my masterpiece, announcing Gregg as the Sin Eater. It was a sensation. That's it. Keep talking. These events occurred between the lines during Spectacular Spider-Man 107 through 110. For about an hour and a half. That was how long it was before you revealed who the real Sin Eater was. Soon the whole city knew that Sin Eater was actually policeman Stan Carter, and that my story was based on the lurid ramblings of a compulsive confessor. The Globe was a laughingstock. I was fired. My peers questioned my ethics, shunned me. I was forced to write venomous celebrity exposés, and I was kidnapped by aliens. Drivel for scandal rags, just to eke out a living. If you hadn't butted in, no one would have known that Emil Gregg wasn't the Sin Eater. Perhaps Carter would have been smart and stopped his killings, knowing he could get off scot-free. Perhaps. Just a little more. My life wouldn't have been shattered. I may have been made an error in judgment, but I was always a good journalist. And the garbage I was forced to write began to rot my soul. This is very interesting, actually, like how much this echoes like modern times, like how Eddie here, who's a villain, he's a villainous person, he's not a good guy, and he's high on himself, right? Thinks he's so good, and he's a victim. You know, oh, the world's out to get me. I'm just a victim. And he's got no self-awareness that he was fake news. He was writing lies. Now, he was tricked, right? But even afterwards, he still's like, that story shouldn't have been correct. Like, it's still sort of stuck. Like, we should have kept it fake news. Once I knew the truth, you exposed it as wrong. So it just reminds me of like what goes on right now. Like, as when you see this in the real world, like when CNN gets exposed, right? They just hate. This is like Eddie Brock. Like Eddie Brock is CNN and Peter's like Trump. It's not that direct of an analogy, but do you see what I'm saying? Like how the kind of similarities that people with victim mentality, villainous nature, they're just so self-absorbed. The world revolves around me. Everything's about me. And I'm not criticizing the book. That's great, I think. I think that makes for a good villainous motive. I think it makes Eddie feel like a better character. But when I read this book 30 years ago, I didn't have the same perspective of the world that I do today. Obviously, I didn't have any vision of what the future was going to be. I never, and now that I see how things are today, I'm like, human nature hasn't really changed. Like, we still do things the same way, the same psychology. Things just repeat themselves. I relocated in the Bronx, spend part of my meager income on bodybuilding equipment. I heard that exercise could reduce stress. It didn't work. Whenever I lifted a barbell, it was your throat I was squeezing. Each time I punched the heavy bag, it was pulping your face. I taped headlines about you on my walls, feeding my hatred, knowing that I couldn't get a story even on the back page of a respectable newspaper, until finally the pain became unbearable. Almost there. And I decided to end it all. But I was raised Catholic, and suicide is a mortal sin. So I wandered from church to shadowed church, praying for forgiveness. Then, at Our Lady of Saints, something odd happened. A shadow moved, caressed me. I was joined. But this was a shadow filled with light. It clarified my anguish, focused my purpose. Its hatred for you matched my own. It knew who you were, and it had power. Oh, so much power. We found the woman first. Later we found your empty apartment. You were running from us. But the shadow knew you well, knew you'd have to learn who you were. So we went trolling, using ourselves as a lure, and apparently the bait. Now, worked. Got it. Lunging for your weapon, trying to fight me. Good. Kroom. Chris says, Ash, I have a Jane Foster Thor figure wielding Stormbringer. Beta Ray Bill wields a giant sword. Thoughts? It's random. I don't know. I don't know. Sorry, that that was really out of left field for me. Back to comics. I think I'm in trouble. Oomph. The alien wasn't really killed by those bells. Must have just dissipated out of pain or rejection. Probably sensed Brock's desire to kill me and thought that was a good idea, since I had tried to kill it. Arg. Still don't know why Venom's not triggering my spider sense, though, and I'm paying for that ignorance and pain. He's got all my powers and more muscle. All I've got is experience. Have to use strategy, call on my cunning, and get him over to the blaster. Whoa, so much for finesse. Rock. Now, you son of a... I don't get it. When Mr. Fantastic used the blaster on me, the symbiote was driven away. But it's only pulling away from Brock. Why isn't it detaching? Unless it can't. It must have completely bonded with his body. That's why he isn't triggering my spider sense. The alien never tripped it, and now he is the alien. Which means that if I kill it, I'll kill Brock. I don't know if I could take a human life even to save my own, And after that beating I took, I don't have much fight left. I better regroup. Think up a new plan. Leaving. Uh-huh. Oh, actually, I think it's Blip. Whoa. Crash. Night, night. Whop. Unknown hours pass. Welcome back to the land of the living, Spider-Man. What a pity your stay will be such a short one. Lord. Apropos sentiments considering the circumstances, just as my altered garb is appropriate after all, we are in a manner of speaking about to exorcise a demon. You tried to kill my shadow with these bells, Spider-Man. It seems only fair that now they should kill you. The central bell is about to toll midnight, but you'll be What is that? Be gut jam by the time it strikes 2? That was a weird. We must leave. When the clapper squishes you through the bare metal, the noise could be painful to us, but I promise we'll return to view the remains. Venom's webbings are as strong as mine. Must have used gallons of it to web me to this bell. Can hardly move. I have to figure some way. Huh? In the distance, other bells starting to toll. But that means... Oh, jeez. Clapper's pulling back. No time to be fancy. Gotta use brute strength. Try to push one hand through, like trying to scratch through a cast iron glove. But it's the only chance that I've... Whew. Stopped at once. But how many times can I pull that stunt before the bones of my hand are crushed to powder? Strange. We should have heard something by now. A crunch, a scream, something. Now or never. Won't be able to stop it again. Maybe I don't have the strength to pull myself from the webbing in time, but I'll bet my good right arm that automated bell-ringing machinery does. Retracting clapper yanked me free. Thank heaven. Arm feels like it's been main evented a taffy pull. But at least I'm belong. I forgot about the tolling. That was a foul, Spider-Man. Cheap and beggarly. You broke the rules. Now you'll have to be punished. I could stay here, let the bells do the trick, but that could kill me too. Gotta get room to breathe so I can keep on breathing. Blong. Think, Spidey. How can you fight this guy? He's got the same powers as you, the same webbing, the same... Wait. He doesn't have the same webbing. When I wore the alien suit, I never needed webbing cartridges. Never even knew where the webbing came from. And I remember Puma saying the webbing was organic. See Amazing Spider-Man 259. That could mean it's made of the alien's own substance, that he regenerates it over time, and that could be my key to survival. Blong. Walk. Flip. If my theory is right, the alien makes webbing from itself. Trek. And since it used so much to web me to that bell, it's gotta be running low. No. Flip. If I keep forcing Venom to use that webbing to keep from falling, his reserves could get depleted. He'll be like a human being with a bad wound, losing lots of blood. He'll get weaker and weaker until finally he runs out. Crumph. Brock's alive, and so's the alien, though it hasn't regenerated enough of its mass to be a threat yet. I need to contain them both, but that'll have to wait now. If I can only remember Mary Jane's calling card number. Soon. Bedford Towers? This is Mr. Parker from BC. We just moved in and don't have a phone yet. Could you possibly pass a message along to my wife? Be my pleasure, sir. What's the glad word? Just tell her I had to photograph a news story, that I'll be home soon, and most of all, tell her I'm okay. And so, sometime later at Four Freedoms Plaza, home of the legendary Fantastic Four. Current team leader Benjamin Grimm completes improvised security arrangements. I've been on the horn with Mr. Fantastic, and he says that the sonic's been piped out of this cylinder should keep Venom nice and docile. Leastways. Till a special cell can be built for him at the vault. That government super prison out in the Rockies. I really appreciate this, Ben. Hey, no problem. Only next time, try to bring your loonies in a little earlier, will ya? Yawn. Spider-Man makes the trip to the Bedford Towers carefully, favoring his left arm. And once there, after his tale has been told, What's wrong, MJ? You seem awfully distant. I said I was sorry. I did what I felt I had to do. I understand, Peter, really. And I'm glad you're okay. Then why the icebox treatment? Is it because I have to go right back out again? Sweetheart, if I don't show up at the Bugle with photographs of something tomorrow, Robbie and the others will get suspicious about why I've disappeared from the move party. I have to. I know. I didn't mean to snap at you, Peter, but you're right. I am upset. Only not because of you. Well, it's because, that. After all we've been through, I don't think I'll ever feel comfortable around that costume. Yeah, I know what you mean. Wearing the same outfit as a homicidal maniac doesn't thrill me either. And since it's impossible to get Venom's suit away from him, I guess I'll just have to do without mine. Of course, swinging around the city in my web shooters and Fruit of the Looms isn't going to do wonders for my image. I have an idea about that, Peter. You know, this isn't a real costume, just a commercial copy that you got when you were in Germany. See Spider-Man vs. Wolverine. But right now, it almost seems like an old friend. What do you think? Mary Jane, I think you're the greatest. A lingering kiss, a quick change of clothes, and the legend begins anew. Chris says, the Thing looks a little reptilian in the head. Yeah, if only Eric was here, he'd be able to fill us in with what was going on. I don't recall. I was not a Fantastic Four guy during that time, so I don't remember. Something to do with Thing. I think his powers getting overload. That was kind of a big thing in the late 80s and early 90s, if I remember correctly, of characters having their powers amplified. I remember they did that to Iceman. I could swear that would happen with the Thing. I wish Eric was here. He would know. Oh, 301 is not part of the. Oh, that sucks. It's not part of the Unlimited. So I may not be able to continue this on Tuesday. I'll have to look into that a little bit more. But that was Spider-Man 300 that kicked off the Venom saga. Back in this day and age, like Venom was something we had never seen like before. It was like such a crazy villain for Spider-Man. And he was basically the anti-Spider-Man, and he could everything he could do, that Spider-Man could do, like Venom was just, more so. And of course, didn't trigger the spider sense. It really made for a dangerous threat. Plus, of course, it had Todd McFarlane art, and this would just kind of develop, one of the most iconic runs, or runs. Todd McFarlane, Dave Michelini on Spider-Man was hot. I mean, they ended up giving Todd McFarlane his own Spider-Man book out of this, and that was unheard of, because Todd wasn't a writer. He was an artist, and he's like, they just let him have his own book, and he could write it too. Back in the day, they kind of did that for Frank Miller on Daredevil, but they didn't just give Daredevil, like, they didn't just make a new #1 for him. They let so Frank Miller was the artist on Daredevil, and I think it was McKenzie was the writer, and Frank wanted to write, and so they eventually kind of weaned him into it, and then they just canned McKenzie, I guess. I forget where McKenzie went, but they took him off the title. But Daredevil, it was just a little bit different. Like, the idea, if they had sort of gotten rid of Michelini here and just let McFarlane continue on Amazing Spider-Man and write, it'd be a little bit more equivalent. But then, I mean, Miller showed signs of being able to write. McFarlane's never been really a writer, but back then, art sold. Let's see. Black Cat says McFarlane over exaggerations, I guess. No, Black Cat, I do. I mean, he does have exaggerations, but I do think there was something going on with Thing. Like, he was mutated. By the way, welcome. Good to see you. There are other Hulk villains aside from Abomination and Leader. I don't know where that comes from. Let's see. Sergeant Bat says, buy the Epic. Yeah, that's not a bad recommendation. You can get this as an Epic collection, so you can have this whole story. It's definitely a fun one to have. Black Cat says the 90s may have had Iceman with weird powers. Now he's a guy called Iceman, and that's flamin'. The Flaming Iceman. That'd be a great adjective for an Iceman title. The Flaming Iceman. I just love being unprofessional and drinking on air. I could burp to really just take it that extra level, but I think that might be too much. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I don't know what's going to go on with next episode, if we'll continue with Spider-Man or not. But we will be continuing with Brubaker Captain America, because this shit's fucking awesome. I hope you guys have been liking this one, and I can't believe Eric didn't stay up for this. This is the book that he recommended. This is one of his favorite Captain Americas of all time, and it's selling me. I really like Brubaker's take on this character. I always thought Captain America was kind of a silly character, so a writer that knows how to take the character very seriously and almost like to an extreme level works. Like, I don't think this would it would work for Batman. I mean, good writing is good writing, but Batman's already kind of a very serious character, dark, and And so it'd be fine, but it's something we've seen before. But Captain America is very colorful, and it's like, hey, Captain America's got a shield, like he fights Batroc the Leaper. You're like, woo, like to ground him and bring him into this sort of like, government conspiracy, sort of like dark, the dark shadows of our government and things that just have. Anyways, you guys get the point what I'm saying. I'm lost for words. I've been enjoying this. Epic Collection ASM Volume 18 has 295 through 310. So there you go. That's the whole Venom story, if I recall correctly. Sergeant Bass says, you're just reading this series? Enjoy it. Yeah, I picked this up a little while ago because Eric had recommended it to me. But because it's digital, like you lose sight of it, and then you forget to read it. And every once in a while, I'd be like, oh, yeah, I got to read that. I got to sit down and read it. And then I was doing this show where I was like, you know what? This would be a good thing to just get on the show and read at least the first several issues of it. And that's usually kind of the kickstart that I need for myself. My problem is I'm very procrastinating. And so if you give me like a big Epic Collection, for example, it'll just sit there and I'll look at it and go, oh, that's a lot of issues to read. I'll read it later. But if I can crack open the book and get a couple issues, then I'll get hooked, and then I won't want to put it down. I need that hook to get me to want to read it. I'm that way with a lot of things, like especially novels. Novels are the worst. Like I do like to read a good book, but I always look at it and go, oh, it's just a big, long book. I'll get to that later. So I need to dig into it. But same thing with TV shows. People tell me, oh, you got to watch this show. And I'm like, yeah. It just feels so daunting. I don't know why it is. That's my psychology, I guess. Let's see. I don't need to read this. That's a lot of what happened before. Jeez. You guys should know what happened before because you were all here, right? All right. Then we're on to book 2. This is Captain America, issue number 3, Brubaker's run. Deserted tunnels in the London tube system. He said the Red Skull is dead? Yeah, but he didn't say how he knew or those were his exact words? I don't know. Yeah, he said someone killed him, and that's why he hadn't called. Oh, and he said we should set a timer on the device and tell Paris to set theirs. Wants to go ahead and blow these places to hell as a memorial, I guess. You should have called me to the comm system. This can't be... My Johann, this... So, you're in charge. What should we do? Just let me think a moment. I can't even get my... Did you just hear... What was that? Gunfire? Shield subcarrier. Currently over the Atlantic Ocean. Moving at top speed. Estimated time of arrival is 1 hour 20 minutes. So I want to know exactly what we're looking at here. Containment levels. Civilian traffic. Everything. And someone get me a link up with whoever's handling the London team. They should be inside by now. Yes, ma'am. I'll get on it. Agent Heidenberg has been working on the data for our strike. Right. The trace from the Skull's receiver appears to be tracking to this location, and if the Manhattan device is any indication, it'll be underground. And fortunately, this is Avenue Foch? I don't know how to pronounce that. Avenue Foch. Along the Champs-Élysées. Champs-Élysées? I don't... Jeez, why does Europe have to pronounce everything all weird? So we're looking at a serious target-rich environment if this goes badly. Hold that thought, Heinberg. I need to get some tactical insight. Walk with me. tactical insight. What's up? You look like you're in another time zone, Steve. I know this has been a hell of a night, and it just keeps getting worse, but I need to be focused when we hit Paris. Sharon, I'm just tired. A lot on my mind. Look, I've got this. Why don't you go catch a break? Catch a few minutes of shut-eye, grab a cup of coffee. You'll call me? The second Fury gets in touch. Scout's honor. Go. Come on, Rogers, wake up. What's your problem? All clear so far? I think we got a bum tip. British intelligence was certain that Zemo was planning something, Bucky, or they wouldn't have sent us in here undercover like... Cap! Don't waste your tears, boy. He has suffered no more than some cracked ribs. Isn't that so, Captain America? Take them. Why did I just remember that? That final mission before my deep freeze. Before Bucky. Wait. That's not how it happened. That's not how Zemo captured us. Is it? Captain, you in there? What is it? Agent 13 needs you on the command deck now. We're just getting word from our squad in London. London tube system. Half an hour ago. Just stopped transmitting the signal entirely, like someone turned off a switch. Well, that's just bloody perfect, isn't it? Sir, I've got a dead body here. Looks like one of the group we're after. Advanced ideas and destruction. More of the same down this run. Bloody hell. Someone slaughtered the lot of them. All right. Give us a recon of the area. See if these geezers are still breathing. And please tell me that the bleeding firebomb is down here someplace. The subcarrier now. Had an old friend of yours in loan from the British government leading the mission. Union Jack. It's been a while. That it has. And I wish I had better news for you. You didn't find the Skull's men? Oh, we found them. Found them all right, but somebody else found them first, cut them to pieces. And to top it off, it appears they snatched the bomb that we were sent in after. 2 items of interest. Found a soldier among the dead that appears to be from the group who led the attack. Here's the image. And I found this one personally, in what I'm assuming was their command center. Anyone you know? Her name is Mother Knight. She worked for the Red Skull, one of his lieutenants. All right. Cordon off the area until our techs arrive. Hopefully they can figure out where this mystery soldier is from and get a lead on the device. Agent 13 out. The Cosmic Cube and one of the Skull's WMDs on the loose? This night just gets better and better. Let's hope we're in time to stop anything else from going wrong. Advance chopper to strike leader. Go for strike leader. Scanner shows the device on the move, and we've got a visual on the scene. Looks like our target is making a run for it. No. Someone else is trying to get in on the action. That's an AIM hoverjet. The Skull's men don't work for them anymore. Steve! Kill him! Crack, 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 bam, bam, bam. Whack. Look at how you just get a sense of how the scene flows. You know, the action, him diving in, guy taking a shot, gets kicked to the face, tries to run away. Steve throws the shield. This is what good comics should have often. Nowadays, is people just standing around talking all the time. The no look ricochet, awesome. Fling, batong. That's so rad. Oh, this is so cool. Charges in, does a shoulder tackle on both of them. The gun's still firing. Now, which one of you wants to tell me what you're doing here? Wow. Fury's gonna love this. What? Shield subcarrier, 2 hours later. Had the WMD in their ship, but they swore up and down that they had nothing to do with the attack on London. Said they were taking back their own property, that this break-off faction had stolen their design and sold it to the Skull. And what do they know about the cube? Nothing. And our search confirmed that our search confirmed their ignorance. There was no sign of anyone, living or dead, anywhere near the WMD. Man, I'm just reading like shit tonight. Anywhere near where the WMD was set to blow. Looks like the Skull's men cut and run when they didn't hear from him, leaving the package for their old pals to just grab. All right, we got some news on our side of the water, but not much. DNA confirms the dead man is the Red Skull, but we've had no luck tracing the police tip that called in the body. So for now, all we know is someone's got the cube and a device created to help charge it. It's more than we knew yesterday. A comforting thought, isn't it? Look, we're in a holding pattern right now, so why don't you handle the cleanup there and then take a night off? Probably the last chance you'll get for some R&R anytime soon. Just do me a favor, Rogers, and try to stay off of friggin' news for a change. Thanks for the company, Steve. I know it's ridiculous considering everything going on around us, but Fury never gives me time off anywhere good. My last free night was in Afghanistan, and that's not exactly a place where they know how to treat a lady. I'll bet. You deserve a night at least. You've been on the clock even longer than I have today. I just wish I was better company. Hey, me too. But a girl can only ask for so much. Kidding. So, the way you're looking around, I'm guessing the city brings back a lot of memories? Yeah. I was first here a long time ago. In August of 1944. My friends and I worked with the French resistance during their uprising here. We were already in France as part of Operation Dragoon. So we worked our way up from the south and met with the leaders from the Maquis to help plan the attack. I've seen a lot of combat, and I'd seen a lot before I got to France. But the savagery inflicted on these people, I never saw anything like it until I got to Buchenwald. That's when it really galls me. That's why it really galls me when I hear my own people dismissing the French as cowards. We're talking about a people who never gave up fighting the Nazi occupation. Their country may have surrendered, but they didn't. I saw men and women, civilians, take on panzer divisions knowing that their own loved ones would be slaughtered in retribution by the Nazis. In one day alone, 600 men, women, and children executed in the village of Orador-sur-Galan, all because of what the Maquis did on D-Day, stopping those tanks from getting to Normandy. Have you ever seen 600 bodies in one place? Of course you have. But I hadn't until then. So we were proud to help them take back Paris. The victory parade came right down this way and up through the Champs-Élysées. My friends and I watched from the sidelines. It was their day, not ours, but I never forgot what they paid to get it, which is probably why it's always been one of my favorite cities. By the way, if I'm mispronouncing any of these things and you guys have a correction for me to tell me how to pronounce it right, by all means, I like to learn new things. Hey, Lord, good to see you. Back to the comic. I forget how worldly you are sometimes, Steve Rogers. I know you do, Sharon. I know you do, Sharon Carter. Hey, look. There's another reason. Jesus, I'm just terrible tonight. There's another reason why, huh? Maybe. You feeling any better? A little. I mean, yeah, our mission wasn't exactly a success. But at least we stopped AIM from getting their hands on a weapon of mass destruction. That's something, right? It's a start. Yeah, it's just the beginning, isn't it? Whatever's going on, this is all just the beginning. Just outside Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, was the scene earlier today in Paris as Captain America was caught on video in combat with the terror group AIM. And though there was considerable damage to the area, French President Chirac this evening praised the actions of America's hero. Look at that. Even the friggin' French love that guy. Of course they do. He's the real thing, man. I should know. I used to work with him. Sure you did, Jack. Just before, you saw Elvis before he was famous, worked with Captain America, right? I did. I was his frickin' partner. Easy on the glassware, Jack. Just chill out. Get your hands off me. What's with him? That guy had been drinking here for about a year now. Always one crazy story after the other. Big chip on his shoulder. Kind of sad, really. Freaking Curtis. I'll show that son of a... Jack Monroe? Huh? Yeah, what? Don't I know you? No. Blam! To be continued. Oh. That was interesting. This is definitely one of these books you can't just pick up and read. You gotta read the whole series. This is written for the trade. And I don't say that as an insult. I think some stories just, they work better. As long as writing for the trade is fine if you're doing great. If you're writing really solid stuff. If you're just writing Bendis fluff, then writing for the trade's crap. But I'm really enjoying this. I'm glad that I got this started finally. I'm sorry that I was so shitty on the reading tonight. I don't know I think I'm just tired. But I don't know how many of you guys are left in the chat. How many of you guys, hopefully maybe just you fell asleep with the YouTube running. That's kind of the point, reading a bedtime story. I'll try to do better on the next episode. We'll be reading Captain America number 4. I'm not sure what the other book will be, but we'll have something. I want to thank everyone. You guys spending time, show up, just whether you hang out for the whole duration or just come by to say hi, and it's cool. The whole point of this show, for those of you who might be new, is just to kind of have a comics hangout. We're fans of comics, can sit and chat with each other and talk about various comics or whatever's on our mind. The whole point of just reading comics is just to have some subject material and hopefully discover something new. Sometimes for me to discover something new, and sometimes for me to share something with you that maybe you haven't discovered yet, that's like an old favorite of mine, like these Spider-Man books. These are books that I grew up with, and I just wanted to kind of revisit them. So it's getting close to midnight here, which means if you're not on the West Coast, it's already tomorrow. So I want to thank everyone again for being here. Nothing much more to say. I will see, hopefully, each and every one of you on Tuesday night. Thanks for stopping by.